Welcome everyone, episode 30 of the MEE-FIT Podcast. Today I'm joined by Tommy and we are going to be discussing all things getting back into fitness after the summer. We're filming this early August, so we're a little bit ahead, but we're kind of thinking that it get people in a good mindset, ready to make a positive start or get back into things as it often is after the summer. And we're a bit late doing this podcast. We've been a touch slack from what we would usually be, and I think it's probably an example of what the summer does to us all as to why that's happened. Because we've had a lot going on here, both personally for all of us and professionally. So that's probably led to us being a little bit out of sync with our own episodes. But anyway, we're going to talk briefly a little bit to start with about summer and the disruption that causes. Probably quite obvious to most people, but what from your side, what do you see on the gym floor? What do our members say to us at this time of year?
I think for the first thing for us is that it's a quieter time. We notice that the sessions are quieter for obvious reasons, really. Summer holidays, kids are off. Life is just different, isn't it, from the rest of the year? I almost kind of view it as almost like the Christmas period, very similar to that in a sense, where people are just busier and it kind of disrupts the regular pattern that we would see typically on the gym floor. Yeah.
I think it's funny here as well because I've always noticed it. We have a more of an extended period because we work with a lot of members who are, so we're in the 6 weeks holiday now. Yeah. So any of the parents who are, the kids of that age, they're going to be very disrupted from back end of July to September. Yeah. But then people who are maybe a little bit older than that, they're probably more likely to go on holiday and stuff outside of those times. So it's almost like a 2 or to 3 month period where we notice that there is this, changes to people's normal routine. So like I said, we're a touch early with this. So I suppose the first area that we could discuss would be for those people who are still in the midst of that, 3 or 4 weeks left till the kids go back to school, 3 weeks I think it is, maybe still got holidays upcoming. How could you encourage them to approach the next 3-4 weeks? Because just to give you further context, I know a lot of people will get into the mindset whereby they think, I've got all this going on, and motivation levels drop and consistency drops, and it can be easy to throw the towel in and just think, I'll get back to it in September. So what would your thoughts be on that?
It's a good point. I mean, we've spoken about this before, and I think we said something along the lines of when life is hectic, it's almost a very good time to start and get that ball rolling because your free time is only going to get better from that point, which kind of gives you a nice sort of feel when when that time is over and you go back to the normal routine, the feeling that you've already done what you can and it's only going to improve that you can do more because you've got more time available, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that in itself is a good kind of mindset to have, I think, just to try and do whatever you can do to just keep that ball rolling.
How about for anyone who is already on that journey? They've already made a start, whether that's here or in another environment, but they've lost some consistency.
Yeah, again, I think it's just trying to refrain to them that it's a normal part of the year, isn't it? We all have holidays. For a lot of us, that period is a time where, life is going to get tough. It's going to, your typical routine is going to probably take a little bit of a hit, and it's just accepting that and not panicking and thinking, oh my God, I've ruined all this good work and I'm really going to struggle to get back to it. It's just probably just accepting a little bit of it is the norm, and it's only a very short sort of space of time. And when things do improve, you can just get back stuck into it and pick that routine up.
Nice. I think I always think about trying to think what's the bare minimum that I can do to keep some form of positivity and routine.
We've got that poster downstairs, haven't we, that uses steps as an example, having non-negotiable and an optimal target.
Yeah.
And I think that just applies for all walks of life. I think that applies for training, nutrition, steps. There's loads of examples where I think having those bare minimum targets are always worthwhile having, just to keep you feeling like you're still on track, I guess, and you still kind of you're keeping that routine of somewhat going.
I think it links back in with a lot of discussions we've had here, and I think it was you, we did the all or nothing, wasn't it? It's the same sort of mentality, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Right, the next few weeks are looking difficult, I've got a trip away, I've got a holiday, I've got but it's okay, but on the days that are more normal, what can you do there to kind of get a gym session in? And it might be having to adjust your pattern. We see that here, members who come at, I saw someone the other day, Emma, and I was like, what are you doing here? Anything, some holidays, she normally comes at 9, 10 a.m, but then it was 5 p.m., 6 p.m. And it was like weird, like seeing someone at a completely different time of day. They're probably seeing different people in the gym, but you kind of just do it to make
it's a great example,
to make it work. Early morning, potentially an evening, a mid-morning, whatever.
And I think it's the same for us as well. Like when we have holidays and stuff, like I'll still make sure I do like 2 sessions a week. Like if I'm away, like I'll just make sure, 2 hours of that week, I'm going to either go to the gym or whatever I can get my hands on and do, I'll do that. And that's again, like my non-negotiable. So I think you can always do something. It's just, making sure you have that like non-negotiable in place to stick to.
Nice. Case in point, going down to London tomorrow for a wedding. Got myself a gym session booked at the Foundry, which is right near the hotel. So that'll be good to go and get another session in. It'll be good. Cool. So in terms of, if we shift the focus then to the main point of discussion really, which is about, September really, because I think we've seen this every single year that we've been going as a business, as a gym. September's almost like a mini January, and in our experience, actually sometimes better than January, because it feels like a new point, a fresh start in some ways. Like you kind of, summer's sort of over, like most people's holidays are back if their kids are back at school, your routine returns to normal, and we see a big influx of interest and people wanting to make a start at that point in time. So for those people who are thinking ahead to that, what would your thoughts be to them in terms of how to make sure that they're successful with that?
Yeah, I mean,
big question.
It is. And like you said, January and September are very, very similar to each other. And I think, the reasons for it are, like you said, like you're going back to that normal routine. So people kind of view it as an opportunity to think, right, I can make this work on a consistent level. The problem we see with that sometimes is that people put a lot of pressure on themselves in terms of, because it's like they've got loads of time on their hands to kind of get stuck into this. They kind of think, right, I'll be able to go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. I'm going to, do all this almost like invent a new routine for themselves and put a lot of pressure on what they can achieve. And I think it's exactly that. Like, you don't need to put that amount of pressure on yourself, because the first moment that kind of has an impact on that and doesn't allow them to stick to what they've set, their motivation is going to take a big dip. And we've kind of talked about before, haven't we, where they kind of just feel like they're not on plan, or they can't keep it up. It's like setting themselves up for failure, basically. So the minute that they do go off track, they just kind of think, I've abandoned the plan, and I've kind of struggled to do what I've set out to do, and from there, just knocks their confidence. So
going into it with too much over enthusiasm and too much ambition of, I'm going to do. I think what I often see with that is like, people, if they've had an overly indulgent summer, let's say, like they've been on a few holidays and they've drank a bit too much wine or whatever it is, and they almost like want to rectify all that bad time as quickly as they can. So they set themselves up in a way that
it's almost like I'm just going to, over that August period where they're just going to think, do you know what, I'm just going to kind of go all out with my food and enjoy myself, which everybody should, absolutely. But they're almost like thinking, when September comes, I'm really going to knuckle down, I'm going to change, I'm going to do all these things. And it's exactly the same in January, where people have the same impact when they look at Christmas. And it's the same thing of like, you overindulge, and it's like, but I'll fix it in January. Like New Year, New Me. Same thing in September, I guess. You're getting the same kind of.
Sometimes with that as well, I think it actually sets people up for. It makes it harder, because they almost then feel even further away from their goals than they were maybe at the beginning of August, for example. If they have looked and thought, the future meal, look after it in September, like it almost gives them like free reign, doesn't it, to kind of like go and have what you want. So it's a balance, isn't it? I think it's a balance. Like, you want to enjoy those periods of time. We'd never advise anyone to go on holiday and be super restrictive or have to train all the time, but like, it's just trying to find that middle ground between
at the same time, you don't want someone to go
all out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally agree with that.
I think another thing for me with September that we see is like, for a lot of people, it's sort of like you're coming towards the end of the year, like you got like 4 months left. Yeah. And people start to think, right, I've not really changed yet this year, because like almost like the new year, new me, January, New Year's resolutions have kind of been and gone potentially. You pass the summer, and it's like the last chance to make this year, whatever year we're in, 2025 as it stands, a success when it comes to your health and fitness. So I think we get a bit of that as well. Like people like, right.
Yeah, as the year goes on, they're almost feeling worse about the whole thing as it just keeps creeping up and the time keeps going on. They haven't made a change. The pressure just keeps building and building and building. Whereas I think we talked obviously about like the new year and this being very, very similar. And I'm almost trying to get people completely away from that whole mindset and just trying to make this part of their life year round. And yes, there's going to be times where you're not going to be as on it and have a clear run, and things aren't going to be in a routine. You're going to have holidays, you know, you're going to have kids off and whatever. But then we keep going back to like the non-negotiables and the optimal ranges, and just trying to work within those and not have that sort of stop-start approach.
I think that is our big mission, isn't it?
It's all we ever talk about.
I feel like every podcast we end up talking about the same thing, but like if we could give anyone advice, it would be, you know, find a way to make health and fitness part of your usual routine. Something that isn't an on and off switch. It's the dimmer switch analogy that people use, and you'll turn it up and you'll turn it down, but it's always on. And it's never off, or you know what I mean? And I think that's if we could get more people to do that, I think the world would be a much more healthy place. It's actually really funny, and she hopefully won't mind me talking about this, but Jade's a very good example of this, because she's due to have a baby in a week on Saturday, so not long at all, and she's been talking a lot about hammering the gym when this is over, and I'm just trying my hardest from a place of love of just trying to get the message across of like, just make it part of your life. Please don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't feel like you need to do 5 weight sessions and go and do 4 runs and all this stuff, and you know, but I see why people do it. You can totally see why it happens all the time. But like you said, that's our absolute message, and it's just don't put too much pressure on yourself. Make it part of your life. I think the people who are most successful with their health and their fitness long term are those people. Like they are the people who they make it work regardless. Like the people who return to the gym with all this enthusiasm, put themselves in a difficult place whereby they can't keep up with it. It then fades off. Like they're always the people who are least consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. And even for the people that are really driven in terms of results, like it's always better to consistently do 2 sessions a week than it is to do X amount for a short period of time and then just stop. You know, so just keeping that routine is key. You don't need to put too much pressure on yourself in terms of doing too much and burning yourself out, as you said before.
Like it. So touching on what we just talked about there in terms of September, I think one thing you know we were talking about before off camera is like how the stigma of New Year can potentially be a barrier to some people, and that maybe that plays into a role as why September is such a busy time for fitness.
It's like I said, like the New Year, New Me is almost laughed at a little bit. You kind of see the pictures coming into Christmas, don't you, of gyms being really full in January, and then like it'll show February where there's no one in there. So there's almost like a, I don't know, like people starting there may feel a little bit silly, like dare judged. I say, like, oh my God, like, you know, I'm starting the gym and are people going to judge me that, you know, I might not stick it out and so forth. So that, I think that in itself now may put people off. Whereas I don't think September's hit that yet. No. I think people kind of view September as almost like the New Year, New Me in September without the stigma attached to it.
Maybe people don't even realise that
they might
it's as consistent as it is. Like we see it as a gym, and I'm sure lots of other fitness businesses and fitness people see it, but maybe the public don't know of it. Do you know what I mean?
They're just genuinely seeing it as a clear window to start something like that training. But obviously our message is just trying to get people to avoid viewing things as windows and just trying to make it a consistent thing. So it probably is a lack of awareness in terms of that being viewed as that. But
it's funny actually you mention that, because we've never had massive intake in January. Like sometimes for us January's, and sometimes with January, like, you know, you've still got kids off and then you've got to get the Christmas tree down. You know what I mean? Like, you've got all these things for like, sometimes we actually find like February, March. But again, part of that's maybe some people's like, actually, I just don't want to start in January out of principle. Like I don't want to be one of those people. I've heard people say that to me on the phone numerous times.
I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, because the stigma has grown so much that it is kind of a laughing joke and everyone's aware of it. Like maybe that is a reason to put people off. Well, one thing I wanted to mention on the perspective of September is like, it's funny though, like, again, I speak to people on the phone who've left their details and stuff, and it's crazy how many people actually, even in September, will start to look towards the new year. Like, even start to think, I'll deal with it next year. Like that, it's already creeping in. And I'm like, there's 4 months left of the year here. Like, we are, we're like, even if we get into October, we've still got a quarter of the year or a third of the year left. Like, that is a lot of time to
make changes,
Yeah.
you know, and imagine where you'd be in January if you did start now, you know.
Our message is always going to be there's no better time to start than now. So if someone was to talk to us about that, then yes, let's start in September. If your aim is to start in January, start in September, start now. Get started now. You know, in 4 months' time, you could be way ahead of where you are now, and you know, feel even more energized and confident going into the new year that you're going to make a real change and stuff. So yeah. It always ties back to that, doesn't it? There's no better time to start than now, whether it's hectic or not.
I think it always leads back to the same thing as whenever people are putting it off, you just eventually you've got to come to the conclusion that it just is something that I have to be consistent with, like we were talking about earlier. Like the more you keep doing that, like we've got members here who I can think of off the top of my head. I'm not going to name them, but I could, like, who've said that to us, like, I should have started 2 years ago when I first saw an ad or a post or something, and it was, or a friend told me about it, and they always say, like, no one ever says, oh, I wish I started in a year's time. I cannot even think of one person who's ever said that.
Yeah, I think it's because they broke down that barrier, haven't they? They've realised, they've kind of thought, you know, this is why it is so important just to be consistent, whether it's busy or not, and they now understand that.
Yeah.
But it's probably hard seeing it from the other person's side of things who are maybe new to this whole thing, and they view times as being better than others in a sense, but they probably don't view it as, you know, it is a lifestyle thing rather than just sort of a time period thing where they've got the time to work on stuff like that.
Yeah.
You just make it work, don't you?
Yeah. We talk a lot about that. Like, how do people do that? How do our members get from a point of maybe they've been someone before who has pushed it back and to then becoming someone who then it does just stick? How does that happen, do you think?
I think education's key, isn't it? I think, like I said, because of our message here and what we kind of say to people, that we've spoken about that before as well, haven't we? Of like, I think often people think that they need to commit a certain amount of time to yield the results, you know, getting into the gym 4 or 5 times a week. And that's just really not the case. And I think once that message is clear that they don't need to do that, and actually, like we said before, doing 2 a week every week is far better than doing 4 or 5 for a few months, then that kind of enlightens them to think, actually, I don't need to, you know, be here all the time. I don't need to rewrite my whole schedule to make it work. I can just fit it in, and we keep coming back to it being just part of their life. So I think most people, everybody can make it work, can't they? You know, twice a week, once a week, whatever it is in that period of their time, that they can make it work. Definitely.
I like that, actually, because I think I agree completely. Like, most people, probably one of the biggest reasons they aren't consistent is because they do think of how much time they will have to dedicate to it, and it's going to take over my life, and I'm not that person. And you know, where actually, like you said, our message is, well, you know, if you can fit 2 sessions in a week, like maybe that will work for you, and then you can be that person who can be consistent, and it suddenly gets a lot easier to envisage being able to make that work.
We see a lot of people that come to us, and like the kind of the first thing that they come back is they're very, very kind of specific with their results that they're trying to hit. And I think over time, that is always one thing. Don't get me wrong, you know, you still obviously make very good changes, but I think the other side of it is just building up that consistency and seeing the other values of what the gym does bring in terms of it being a lifestyle, in terms of your mental health, and still making improvements as well. So I think as the journey goes on, people start to, like I said before, kind of open up to the idea of the reason why it's so important to be consistent and not have to kind of devote so much time to the gym every week.
So for anyone out there then who is thinking about September as a good time to start, just mention a few things that can try and help them set themselves up for success, and how they can go about making sure that they are getting into that routine where it does start to become more part of their lifestyle. Like, what would spring to mind for you?
I think the absolute first thing I'd say is don't go into it alone. You know, whether that is seeking help from us guys, whether that's with nutrition, whatever that may be, like, try and get help with accountability and a plan with that, because it's already hard, but obviously try and do it on your own is very, very challenging, as we know. You know, we have a lot of clients here that will keep consistent through those periods of time, and I'd like to think a big reason that is because of us. So I know for a fact that's definitely something I would recommend, is just not to go into it alone and try and seek help with that.
We talk about that word accountability. I think that for people who, I mean, I can think of loads of examples of people here who've shared on testimonials or whatever, like, they've never been as consistent as when they train here with us, and there's lots of reasons behind that, but I think one of them is the fact that when you are trying to do it on your own, you know, if you're going to go into it with that mindset of, I'm going to do like 4 or 5 sessions, and then you kind of fade off. It's like, well, who knows? No one
if
other than
that
you.
individual has already got the mindset of I'm going to start in September, then they're also going to have the same mindset of I can start Monday.
Yeah.
And are missing sessions and just keep playing on that.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the difference with when you reach out to someone to help you, like we've got here, is like if someone's not in or they've cancelled a session, we're on the case like straight away, call them out on it. And I think that in itself is a realization that, oh, actually, I need to get myself to the gym. You know, that's what I've said I'm going to do. I've got this person I'm meant to be accountable for, and I'm almost letting them down as well as myself. So I think that's why it's so powerful.
Yeah, and I think some people might actually, they might think negatively about that in the sense of like, oh, I shouldn't need that, and I think that's a completely wrong mindset to have, and I'll often say that to people if people. For example, like people will say to me if I'm on the phone with them about they've had their details with us or something, and they'll say, "Oh, it sounds silly that I shouldn't need that help. I shouldn't need, and I kind of get it, but at the same time, like most people who are successful with most things in their life have usually had some form of guide or mentor. Most people in business have a business coach or someone, a network of people. You know what I mean? Like most people will have that sort of guidance and support and accountability in their life in lots of different ways. And I think for anyone who has struggled with consistency, one of the biggest things you can do is have someone in your corner, like you said, who's going to kind of cut through that a little bit and sort of call you out on it. Might be the wrong thing to say, but it kind of isn't at the same time.
It's coming from a place of love, isn't it? But absolutely. They are kind of
like our job is to make sure that our members are coming here regularly, and actually enjoying the service and getting results. And if they're not, then like you said, they know that we're on their case, and we've realised actually we haven't seen that person for a while. Like, are they okay? What's going on? And whereas if you've not got that, it's so easy to just drift out of the routine, and if there's no one to pull you back in. And I think people often, I hear all the time, like, oh, my wife or my partner or like friend, or it's a completely different relationship with that. Do you know what I mean? Like if someone's trying to be held accountable by their partner or a friend, it just
it's not the same, is it? It's too easy to like play on that and kind of treat it as a bit of a joke. But even like we're the same, aren't we? Like they often say coaches should invest in other coaches, and even us, like people often think, oh, your personal trainer just must have all the motivation in the world to just train all the time. And we know that's just not true. We all kind of align with what our clients go through. Sometimes we train, like it's hard work, and sometimes often you kind of don't want to do it, but training with each other or being accountable to a coach or training with the clients that I hear, that all gets you to do it. So we all go through it, all of us. I mean, myself, I'll either have an online coach or I will be in the sessions here. Like it's either one of those two things. I very, very rarely go into the gym just off my own back and do my own thing for a period of time. That is a big part of the problem, isn't it? Is a lot of people do. And that's why they find it so tough, because I would be exactly the same. Wake up on a Monday morning, when am I going to go gym this week? What am I going to do when I get there? I can't think of They're looking for a million reasons to get out of it as well, aren't they? Like straight away from that get-go, it's like getting yourself there, then it's like, you've got a program, you're going to follow it. Oh, I can't get on that bit of kit. Oh, do you know what? I'm just going to leave it in. Do you know what I mean? Like we hear, which is what happens, or go and sit on the bike or whatever, which is still good, but you could be doing other things. That's probably leads us into one point then that's very, very relevant, I think, for this, and this is advice we give to people all the time, whether they're working with us here or elsewhere, is about prioritizing that time and planning it in and making it part of your routine. Because I think we see that here with members who we always see consistently that the members who book themselves in advance, and when we look at their system and we can see booking for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they are always the people who make it in more regularly. The ones who you look at their account and there's nothing. Some people have to do that for certain reasons, which is understandable, but there's also people you think you probably could book in advance, but something's blocking you. They're generally not as consistent because something else will crop up or that'll pull my attention or whatever. So I think just the ones, like you said, who do plan it and book in advance are the ones shown to be better. There was someone I was chatting to last week actually that when he come in, he said, you know what, sometimes I really, really don't want to come in. Like I'm knackered when I finish work, but because I book in and I've got it booked in, it's almost like I've scheduled an appointment and I'll come and I'll do the best I can and I'll go. And he said, if I didn't have that and it was a case of like we just come to the gym whenever suits us, you probably just wouldn't come. Absolutely. So I think it's such a powerful tool, just kind of viewing it as an appointment and you're going to attend it no matter how you necessarily feeling whether you can be bothered
absolutely.
or not. So yeah, it's such a powerful tool, that is, definitely.
And I think that's the case if you're in a gym like ours, there's a booking system, etc.
Yeah.
But even if you're not in that type of environment, even if you're going for a run or you're going to a normal gym, again, same thing, put it in your schedule, 5 p.m. post work or 5:30, whatever, gym, and protect that time. And I know things will always crop up. There's always exceptions to that rule, but more often than not, people will get it done if they have scheduled it in, whereas if they've left it open-ended, it could happen any time of day, and then before you know it, it's 8 o'clock. I'm not going today, I'll go tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and it's this, we hear that. I hear that more than anything else when I'm speaking to people on the phone, just like in that rut and hard to get yourself out. So
really
having
tough.
that set in stone appointment is so powerful. So powerful. We'll finish up there. I think we've covered off a lot of good ground there. So just any final thoughts on or a quick summary on your main message from this podcast, just in terms of, finishing the summer, heading into September.
It's just trying to view it very similar, as I said before, to what Christmas and New Year is. Like, there is no perfect time to start. Saying that the perfect time to start is right now, regardless of how busy life is. So just try and set yourself some non-negotiables and stick to them. Essentially with getting in the gym, whether that is once a week because, it's really, really busy, or when September comes and there is a little bit more time, then you can have your targets of getting in a bit more, but just trying to make it a consistent theme right the way through the year. Don't set yourself up for failure. Don't be too hard on yourself. And that'll be it, really.
Love it. Cool. Thank you very much, Tommy, for your time today. It's been good to chat. And thank you all very much for listening. We will see you in the next episode. If you are someone who is looking to make a positive start with your health and fitness in September, you know where we are. Drop us a message on social media or drop us an email, and we can have a chat about how we can help you make a positive start. See you all soon.